Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Nigeria, good morning. The headlines are getting heavier and the debates sharper. I am Manulu Akpoido, and this is Daybreak Live, where politics meets perspective and national issues are stripped of their spin.
Definitely. And Amoluayemi Adelakun. We begin this morning with one of Africa's most respected voices, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka, expressing deep concern after the United States reportedly revoked his visa. It's a development that goes beyond travel restrictions. It touches on dignity, diplomacy, and the uneasy dance of global politics.
Definitely. So when a literary icon and global statesman faces such scrutiny, it raises questions, not just about foreign policy, but about Nigeria's image abroad and how our citizens, even the most distinguished, are perceived on the global stage.
Oh, yes. Coming up shortly, Daybreak News brings you the major political and economic headlines shaping conversations across the country.
Then we'll dive into the newspapers, unpacking the power plays and policies, the public reactions driving today's top stories. Joining us for that conversation is Temitope Ishola, bringing fresh insight and perspective to the headlines.
And for today's big story, we are asking the tough question: changing the election calendar, reform, necessity or distraction? As debates grew over Nigeria's electoral reforms, is the push to adjust election timelines a path to better governance or a strategy to shift accountability?
Joining us on that particular edition is Ignatius Eboseliume Ofino, a public affairs analyst with sharp views on how timing, structure and political will intersect in Nigeria's democratic process.
And as always, we close with Trend Watch, tracking the pulse of the nation from trending outrage to moments of humor that make you pause and think.
Definitely. It's midweek, the stakes are high, and the conversations are just getting started. Good morning to you this morning.
Good morning, this is Daybreak Live. Let's take you straight to the stories that matter.
Definitely.
Right, you look sharp this morning. Well done.
You look the same. You look gorgeous too, right?
Kamsahamnida.
I hope people understand what you just said.
Oh, that means thank you in Korean. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, movies people. It's
okay. So this morning, our professor is saying something. You know, yesterday he had a press briefing in Lagos, and then he came out to say that his visa has been revoked. I don't think I'm shocked about that, because Prof has been in the news for about a month now, a few weeks ago, because he's so popular that whatever he says will make the headlines. So recently he came out to say that the U.S. Embassy is asking him to show up for a re-interview, and then he calls it strange that why should he be summoned for another interview when he's done one before. So some Nigerians are saying maybe this is connected to the fact that he didn't show up for that re-interview, and some other persons are saying that okay, maybe it's connected to the fact that he destroyed his green card in 2016. There's a video to that. I would love us to watch that video, and after that video we might talk properly this morning. In that video he mentioned something very important, the reasons why he destroyed his green card. Let's watch the video.
Denouncing your...
I've done it. When I was ready, when I finished, I negotiated my departure. Yeah, I cut it up.
on that principle that you simply could not fathom living?
I just, it's, people don't, I respond to environment, maybe in an oversensitive way and so on. I respond to my environment. If it's not at least close to what I consider possible, I don't even enjoy my glass of wine in that environment. So we're not talking profound issues now. I'm just saying that I'm not at ease in that environment. And if I have alternatives, why should I stay in an environment that doesn't make me comfortable? Why? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
So no longer a U.S. citizen in any kind?
And I've already packed my rules. I've negotiated, as I said, my engagements. I did the last one in New York University, you know, and
the final question, do you still intend to cut up your green card? He's now been elected as president of the U.S.
I've done it.
You've done it.
Listen to Prof over there. He said, I've done it. Because a lot of persons are saying, did he really destroy it? But then there's a video to that, you know, that talks about the fact that he destroyed his green card, you know, in 2016. And some Nigerians are saying, maybe it is related to the fact that he destroyed the green card in 2016. Or maybe it's related to the fact that he was asked to show up for a re-interview and he did not show up. See, whatever we say on this matter is speculation at best. What do you make of it?
Oh, well, but maybe to start with this conversation, to say, you know, Professor has been in the news, like you said, especially with the United States.
Yeah.
You know, he made a statement at some point that if Donald Trump becomes the president, you know, when he was coming for the second time, he said he would gladly
destroy his green card.
Yeah, not to have things to do with the United States. I think that was the way he put it. And so that came about. So there's been speculations about Trump getting back at him, trying to say, okay, but I'm not so sure Trump has that much time. That's one. But again, it's not impossible that there are people in the cabinet who are interested in this particular topic to say, one guy says something, Trump want to do something, and then it's just go ahead and do it. But it's okay. We're not privy to that. Yeah. So we cannot make claims on what we are not privy to say this is what happened. But a lot of things must have gone behind the scenes. Why? For a person who holds a B1, B2 US visa, a special kind of visa that is not common to everybody. Now, I will try to go about what that means. You know, it's a combined temporary non-immigrant visa for foreign nationals traveling to the United States for business or pleasure or tourism. Now, they said the B1 portion is for activities like consulting, negotiating contracts, or attending business meetings. This is one thing I know about the US. But again, let's talk about the B2 visa also. It's for tourism, visiting friends or family. This is one thing I know about the United States government. They want people who can add to their community. They want people who can bring something valuable to their community. They're not looking for that's why they revoke a lot of visas. That's why they deny visas.
On that note, sorry to quote you, Prof has taught in several universities in the United States.
Definitely. That's what I'm trying to say. So we can
say... He's someone that has put us on the global map, a literary giant, if you like.
So, yeah, definitely.
So even if there's anyone that should contribute to that country or state, if you like, I think Prof, you know, should be part of those persons.
So that's what I'm trying to say, that this is a bit, in a way, questioning the fact that United States government, the policies or the standards of the United States government, which we have seen, we have known from the body language of the government, they are always open to people like this, people who can bring to their society, bring something positive, bring something developmental to their community. But why is this happening? Does it sound like they are targeting him? Because there are a lot of people also. Because now, if you are a Nobel laureate, there are some things that you are privy to that an average person might not be. Which is also why some people are questioning that. Don't you know this man? You're talking about Wole Soyinka. He's a literary giant. He's someone who has added to this nation, this country, African, not this country. I mean, like this word. Yeah, exactly. So it's add so much knowledge to what we have in the global system, right? Yeah. And that calls for a bit of celebration or someone with someone. And it's I will even get into why a US visa can be revoked. I went into to do a bit of research to see that it will be on the basis of criminal activity, which we cannot tell because Wole Soyinka also mentioned that he's not quite sure of the reason for that. You know, so it could be the reasons for visa revocation in the US could be criminal activity, fraud and misrepresentation, which I'm also... So let's check these boxes. Does Wole Soyinka, did he in any way contravene any of this?
He mentioned, because when I read the report, he said, I'm not into any criminal activity.
So that's why he said he's not even sure
done anything
of why
wrong.
This is
happening.
But
then let's talk about policies. Part of another reason why your visa can be revoked can be because of maybe some policies of the country. Don't forget that recently the United States is doing some effecting some changes in the visa that they give out to people.
Process.
indefinitely. You know, before it used to be 5-year entry, but then they reduce it now. So we don't know, maybe it's connected to that. So whatever it is that was say, it might still be speculation until the US embassy will come out to say this is the reason why his visa was revoked. Don't even forget that he's been instructed to drop his visa at the Lagos office for cancellation. You know, and then there are two types of your visa can be revoked in 2 ways. I think the first one is before entry, and that's the example of Wole Soyinka. He's not entered the country yet. And then there's another one after entry. Maybe if you're in the country and you've been caught with some activities that are not so good, you're asked to leave immediately. Like free plane back to Muritala Mohammed, you don't even need to pay. You might not be allowed to go back to pick
the next available flight is what you follow.
Is what you follow. So on this note, his visa has been revoked before entry. That means he's not allowed to enter the country. The video that we watched, you remember what he said? He said, I don't even feel at ease in the environment anymore. I don't think I can enjoy my glass of wine. So visa or no visa, if people need Baba, they know where to find him.
Let's take it a step further. You know, I was trying to reel out some of those possibilities that could have led to the revocation of his visa. Now, we've mentioned criminal activity, fraud, and misrepresentation. Now, the other one is security concerns, which I'm not quite sure also. Non-compliance with visa terms. This could be a thing to say, okay, is recent engagement and activities, is he anti-US? Is he anti some of the things we believe in? Is he anti our ethics and customs? That's another thing. But again, one of the is suspected immigrant intent. You know, maybe if the consular office suspect that you have an immigrant intent while on a non-immigrant visa, your visa can be revoked, and a lot of other violations too. But I'm not sure Wole Soyinka contravened any of this or any of these statutory
except
laws.
For the fact that he was asked to show for a re-interview. We are not so sure if he showed up or not.
But well, I think Baba made a statement at the time. He said he didn't understand why that should happen, especially because that was the time when they were not supposed to have this kind of conversations, according to Wole Soyinka. I think it was 9/11. It was at the time when the World Trade Center was blown at some point. So it's more like a remembrance. He was calling that the U.S. government should be sensitive enough not to have this kind of conversations around this time, because this is a time very important, very how do we call it now? Very easy. I don't know how best to call that.
He called it strange in his words. He said it's strange for them to ask him to come. And one more thing is, don't also forget that I don't think Prof and Donald Trump are friends. Because if you check out some of the comments he's made about Donald Trump over the years, there was a time he likened him to a white Idi Amin. Do you know what that means? It wasn't him calling him, he didn't call him a dictator, outrightly, but that was what, it connotes. So maybe we cannot tell. Maybe some of the comments is made is connected to these, but then, just like I said, speculation at best.
Everything.
Until the U.S. embassy will come out to say, this is the reason why his visa was revoked.
Baba, at that meeting yesterday, at that press conference, Baba was saying some of the things. He started by saying that the official at the consulate who attended to him was very cautious, was nice, the way he was talking and the way he did, the way he accorded himself was, he gave commendations to that particular one to say, okay, you guys did well in that. But he was actually mentioning the fact that he's not so comfortable around the conversations of being in, like you also mentioned, like we saw in the video just now, he wouldn't like to be in a place where his sanity is disturbed or he's not at ease, he's not at peace with himself or with the environment, because he's someone very sensitive to the environment and a lot more. But yes, let's take it back now. Some have also said this is a temporary revocation. It might be recalled. But again, the question has been, could this be a witch hunt? Could this be that you're trying to attack? Again now, let's take it further. What becomes of an average person? So maybe every other person that is trying to get business and all this will be more scared. Now, because if a person of that caliber can be revoked, who are you not to be revoked anyway?
Yeah, you have a very good point. I think you're spot on. But also, let's look at it this way. He destroyed his green card. I also watched a video where he said, oh, it's an accident. The green card fell in the middle of the scissors. It's very poetic. I was just laughing because there's no way you listen to Baba and you not, laugh and the likes, because he's funny and of course it's very poetic. He said it fell in the middle of the scissors. It was an accident. So maybe this is connected to the fact that he destroyed his green card and then he was public about it. We cannot say, or maybe it's connected to the interview that he didn't show up for, the re-interview. So let's just fold our hands. And maybe the U.S. embassy will, come up with the reason, because he's a very popular person. There's nothing Professor will say today that will not make headlines, not even in Nigeria, outside of Nigeria.
I'm not trying to make a case for Wole Soyinka, but if he had said that he destroyed the visa, then what about the visa he used recently when I think he applied to visit the U.S., at the time when they said he had to come for an interview? Maybe he probably has another. Or
it's possible. I mean, for someone of his caliber, never say never. And it's still very possible that they can still, ask him, to say, okay, don't worry, we'll work around this, because, I mean, he's a popular person. And of course, even some Nigerians are saying, okay, Baba, we can even volunteer to take your visit to Lagos for you so that they can cancel. Nigerians, we play a lot.
I'll be sure. Let me cut to the chase very quickly. I'll be sure that something maybe positive will come out from it. Why? Baba has gone on the social media, on the press, to say this is what happened, and it's going to spark a lot of reactions, conversations, and I think the United States President Donald Trump would get to hear this, which I'm quite sure.
He's not in the know before
if at
now.
All, yeah, that's exactly the case. And they wouldn't like a public outcry. They wouldn't like a far cry of people.
When it comes to Donald Trump, I don't think he's going to be. He's someone that is very vocal.
But this is diplomacy, right? So they might want to be a big. They might calm down.
That's why I said it's very possible for them to say, okay, can you show up, and then let's talk about it and find a way to settle it. Because I mean, Baba has done a lot. Because even the United States, I'm very sure maybe some universities need him at this point in time. Just like I said, Baba has taught in several universities over there, including the likes of the Chibi. Those persons, those individuals, put us on the global spot. When you read about them, see, Baba has written for decades that some books of Baba that I would still love to read again. So, but then it's just sad that at this point in time, not just Baba, talk about some Nigerians, commoners who are not so popular, who have experienced some issues like this, who will speak on their behalf. That's the problem, really. But then for Baba, whatever it says will make the news, and then some changes might be made. But what about people who cannot even speak? Even if they are talking, no one will hear them.
Let me also say this in passing. I'm not in the right mix to advise the United States President, but I think if there are people to be revoked, there are visas to be revoked, I think it should be some set of people. Baba has been a bit cautious. I'm not sure he's caused any trouble or security concern in recent times or even before now. He's been a man that you can say is doing well in, he's had a good cultural sense. He has a presence of mind not to cause harm or disharmony between people. It's just such a calm man. He's a global peace figure in a sense, right? So I'm saying that there are people who should, I don't want to call names, I don't want to mention offices, but I know there are some people that should have this revocation.
Really,
I don't want to call their office and all of that, but not this kind of
That's the responsibility of the U.S. Embassy.
Definitely.
And just like I know they are going to respond, maybe not immediately, maybe before the close of the year, they might respond on this to say this is the reason why his visa was revoked. Just like they will send a message to some persons to say, okay, your visa was cancelled because of this and that. Let's just follow our hands and see.
This is what we do, right?
Yeah.
We keep the fingers crossed.
Definitely.
We'll be holding our breath.
All right. Thank you for being a part of the segment. We need to take a short break. When we come back, we take the further reports. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at DominionCast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us. It's time to take the weather reports. Let's start from Ibadan, southwest Oyo. This morning, weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius, and later this morning is expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 9%. In the afternoon, 30 degrees Celsius, showers around 40%. And in the evening, 25 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 10%. And overnight, 24 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 9%. That's what we have for Ibadan this morning.
And in Lagos State, Nigeria, today, weather feels like 29 degrees Celsius. Slight variations from morning to night. Morning, 28 degrees Celsius, cloudy. Afternoon, 29 degrees Celsius. A promise of showers in Lagos today. And evening, 27 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy as well. And overnight, 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy in Lagos State, Nigeria.
All right, let's cross over to Ekiti Southwest. Ekiti this morning, weather feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and later this morning is expected to be around 27 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 6%. And in the afternoon, 29 degrees Celsius, scattered thunderstorms around 38%. In the evening, 24 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 13%. And overnight, 23 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 10%. That's what we have for Ekiti South this morning.
In Abeokuta South, the Gateway State, Ogun State particularly, weather feels cloudy at 24 degrees Celsius. Variations also in the morning, 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy. Also cloudy at 30 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. And the evening, 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy as well. And the weather will be mostly cloudy also overnight at 25 degrees Celsius in Abeokuta South, Ogun State, Nigeria.
Well, let's cross over to Ilorin. Weather this morning feels like 24 degrees Celsius. Later this morning is expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius and mostly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, 33 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%. In the evening, 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 5%. And overnight, 24 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 8%. That's what we have for Ilorin International Airport, Kwara this morning.
The weather is quite fair in Suleja, Niger State today at 23 degrees Celsius. Of course, variations also in the morning, 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, and partly cloudy in the afternoon at 32 degrees Celsius. Evening is also mostly cloudy, expected to be 25 degrees Celsius, and overnight is also expected to be mostly cloudy at 23 degrees Celsius in Suleja, the biggest state in Nigeria, Niger State.
All right, that's how much we can take on this particular segment. We need to take another short break, and when we come back, we take the news. Do well to follow us across our social media platforms on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cars. We'll be right back.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. My name is Anoluakpo Idowu. President Bola Tinubu has asked the Senate to screen and confirm the newly appointed service chiefs as soon as possible. The president's request was conveyed in a letter read by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio during plenary, where he explained that the request was made in accordance with Section 18, subsection 1 of the Armed Forces Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. After reading the letter, Mr. Akpabio referred the request to the Committee of the Whole for consideration, noting that the screening and confirmation of the nominees will take place next week. The Senate has lauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and other key institutions for their roles in securing Nigeria's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list. The motion, described as a major victory for the nation's financial integrity and global reputation, was sponsored by Senator Emmanuel Udende on the matters of urgent public importance, pursuant to Orders 41 and 51 of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended. Moving the motion, Udende said Nigeria's delisting by FATF reflects the country's remarkable progress in addressing strategic deficiencies and its anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism framework, and demonstrates its strong commitment to global financial integrity standards. The chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Internal Security, Garba Mohammed, has disclosed that the National Assembly received threats from terrorists to bomb the complex and called for urgent fortification of the edifice as a proactive measure. Garba disclosed this in Abuja at the public hearing on a bill seeking to establish the Legislative Security Directorate, which seeks to enhance security management, protect the lawmakers, staff members, and visitors to the nation's parliament. Following the alert, the National Assembly has limited members' presence on the premises for safety, and security experts called for stronger federal protection of national infrastructure and assets. In an unexpected turn of events, the United States government under President Donald Trump has revoked the visa of Nobel laureate and internationally acclaimed writer Professor Wole Soyinka. Soyinka disclosed this at Kongi's Harvest Gallery, Freedom Park in Lagos Island, while addressing journalists on the matter, noting that he was taken aback by the decision. He added that he was unaware of the offense that could have prompted the cancellation of his visa, describing the United States government's action as a witch hunt. The All Progressives Congress, APC, has confirmed Biodun Oyebanji, the governor of Ekiti State, as the party's consensus candidate for the 2026 governorship election in the state. This confirmation was after a motion was presented by Senate leader Senator Opeyemi Bamidele and seconded by Right Honorable Stephen Aribasoye, the Speaker of the Ekiti State House of Assembly in Ado-Ekiti, the capital of Ekiti State. In his remarks, Governor Ahmed Ododo noted that the affirmation demonstrates the confidence the Ekiti people have in Oyebanji's leadership and his significant achievements across various sectors.
His Excellency, Governor Biodun Abayomi Oyebanji, as the consensus gubernatorial candidate of the All Progressives Congress (APC) for the 2026 Ekiti State governorship elections.
Are wide open, to bring everybody back to the party. We have to stay united so that we can win convincingly. The 2026 election is just a precursor to 2027 election, and I decided in Ekiti State is to ensure that we win all the 177 wards and we double our 2022 governorship election results, and it's doable.
In his acceptance speech, Governor Biodun Oyebanji expressed his gratitude to President Bola Tinubu and other party leaders for their support, promising to reach out to other aspirants, including Kayode Ojo, in order to promote unity and strengthen the party in preparation for the upcoming election. In business, President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to supporting the Dangote refinery's planned expansion from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. Tinubu was represented by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Heineken Lopobiri, gave the assurance at the 19th edition of the OTL Africa Downstream Conference and Exhibition in Lagos. According to him, the refinery's expansion would not only boost Nigeria's self-sufficiency in refined products, but also strengthen energy supply across the continent. Similarly, the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, said the move reflects confidence in Nigeria's future and aligns with President Bola Tinubu's vision of making the country a global supplier of refined petroleum products. In sports, the Super Falcons of Nigeria has secured a place at the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations following a 1-1 draw with Benin Republic at the Moshood Abiola Sports Arena in Abeokuta. The Super Falcons took the lead in the 12th minute through Al-Ittihad defender Ashley Plumter, who powered home a header from Estelle Koronko's brilliant corner. The hosts failed to double their lead before the break, after which Benin Republic equalized in the 61st minute through Yasminat Jibril. Super Falcons won the final qualifying round tie 3-1 on aggregate. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. And that's Daybreak News. I am Anolu Akpo Idowu. Thank you for watching.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live like never before? Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram at Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at DominionCast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, has given a stern warning to say there's no chance for any compromise. In fact, he said, in effect, the violence will not or will be met with strong opposition and uncompromising response. That's coming from NSA, and that's one of the big topics on the front page of the newspapers this morning. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on this particular edition of Newspaper Headlines and Analysis, where we check into the stories and check the stories breaking, developing, and trending across the news platforms in the country, Nigeria. We have so many stories to read out this morning, but I wouldn't do this alone. I have with me Temitope Shola, Public Affairs Analyst, joining us this morning. Good morning to you, Shola.
Good morning.
It's good to have you this morning.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so let's get into the conversation now. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper has that story, the big caption: violence will be met with strong response, uncompromising response. That's coming from the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. That's about the Anambra election come November 8th. Just 10 more days to the elections. Everything is gagging up. Preparations on everybody's side. The security architecture, the security apparatus, the government, the INEC, Amupiton saying a lot of things as well. Amupiton says it's justifying extension of collection of PVCs. We've seen that also in the news yesterday. They extended the period for people to get PVCs because they want a massive, turnout of that particular voting exercise. People should come out and vote in Anambra, and that's talking about Anambra elections. Police to deploy 45,000 police officers. Do we have that much? Anyway, we'll get into all of this conversation. So, Ishola, let's get right in. The first test for Amupiton is quite on the table. Anambra elections is in 10 days' time. Preparations on every side, expectations also high. What exactly are we expecting come November 8th?
I think you'll forgive me, I'm a bit pessimistic about Amupiton, largely because of how INEC has coordinated themselves in the last general election and even the elections that came afterwards. And they've not clouded themselves in glory, so to say. So I say INEC still being the same of the same is a system that has been corrupted. All we just have is a different man at the helms of affairs. But the infrastructure, the building of INEC still remains the way it is. So with or without the chairman, the rot has gone deep down into the layers. And let's not forget, Amupiton is barely a week or 2 weeks old in office, which means the processes for the elections had begun a couple of months back. That he really has nothing to do with this election. He's just there to just oversee. So, and like I said, I'll also maintain that I'll be largely pessimistic regarding this whole election. As far as I'm concerned, decision has been made.
Let me bring it to you now. Amupiton said just last week that, election results will be transmitted from polling units or polling booths, not just at maybe the rec or where they gather all these results. So he said that's one of the strategic things he wants to work on, that he'll ensure that results are transmitted as soon as possible so they can forestall any chance of malpractice or any chance of incrimination in that particular. So that's exactly one of the things he said. Now, you are quite mentioning that he might not really have so much to do, but he also made that point. Should we expect what he said or hold him by his word?
Okay, because he's a new man, I would say let's watch and see. But the last Mahmoud Yakub said more than that. He promised us heaven and earth.
So it's beyond the thought.
He promised us Eldorado, that this election, 2023 election was going to be the best. And INEC came back and changed their words that no, they didn't say they would transmit. So that's why I said I'll be largely, which is unlikely of me to do, but with regards to this particular institution, they've not shown themselves to be trustworthy elements, individuals in society. So that's why I said I'll just be, I can't take their words seriously. So now, and I think it's better for me to be in that position, and many Nigerians, and to be wowed by them doing the right thing, than for our hopes to be raised high, then they shatter it again. Because I feel this is a test for Mukwiton on how the 2027 general election is going to be. And the beauty of this also is, is to draw it back to the elections of 2022, I think, when Osun State election that brought in Governor Adeleke in. You would see that that's what they tested, the beavers. As soon as they realized that they couldn't manipulate the votes in favor of the ruling party at that time, the alarm bells went off that this shouldn't be allowed in the general election. So they found a way to manipulate it to ensure that at the end of the day, the votes were not transmitted. Because if they had gone ahead the way it was organized in the general election, Adeleke would have lost the election again. But in them trying to test out beavers and the likes, that enabled Adeleke to win that election. So them going into 2023 elections allowed for them to know that, okay, if this go ahead, we don't stand a chance and the likes. So Anambra election, let's not forget, the sitting governor has been romancing the ruling party, the president, basically just as if he's okay, don't use that word, but he has just been going around the president trying to get favors and the like. So you could already tell that there are certain measures in place that is trying to ensure that he remains the governor because of many promises that have been made ahead of 2027 and the like. So that's why I say I don't really see any new thing in that election. So, but for Mukwiton, I would want to see how best he's able to navigate all of this. And why do I say so? It's because I also want to give him the benefit of the doubt that as someone just coming in, he probably has fresh ideas on how he wants INEC to run. So let's see how well his personal intention, good intentions, if there are any, can balance with what is obtainable currently with INEC. So is he does he have the strong will to be able to maneuver the existing recs into his own line of thought, or is he coming in to do the bidding of the sitting president to ensure that Ukokrook, the ruling party, gets to return back? So there's no problem. I'm not one of those that will say if Governor Soludo wins, automatically it has been rigged. No. I'm one for let the elections be free and fair. So if Soludo has to go back on the will of the people, absolutely, but let it be transparent enough that there isn't so much to question as to the integrity of the elections. So, and I would love to see if that can be allowed to play in an Anambra election. And for the NSA statements and the likes, they've said all the right statements, but the truth is, at the end of the day, can they act on their words?
Yeah, so it's like you said it's more than talking, it's walking the talk. It's quite important as well. Now, let's switch focus to something quite interesting, something that concerns every other person, security in the country, Nigeria. There's also a saying that what goes around comes around. You know, I think there's something coming around for the House of Rep members now. The story is on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. It says, we have received threats from terrorists to bomb National Assembly Reps Committee chairman. They received threats from, a particular, I don't want to call them, maybe terrorist group here, saying they want to come and bomb the National Assembly. So yesterday was a big deal at the Assembly because there were different conversations on how to, reinforce the security architecture of that particular place. They've even restricted the number of persons that will come into the premises, and they've done a lot of things. But again, what does this speak to? Maybe some would say that some things would never get to you, especially if you see them from afar. If something is happening in the north, some would say, well, we don't have to care in the south or in the west or in the middle belt, wherever we are. But whatever goes around can also come around. It seems that's the story for the National Assembly. But which way to go, Nigeria?
It's inevitable because some class of individuals in the society, obviously the politicians, have seemed to position themselves as above the law, above odds, above attack and issues. and you see them pay lip service, whereas they've lost touch with the fact that they are representatives by the word representative to represent the interest of the people of their constituency. But as soon as they get to Abuja, they seem to just forget that part of the transaction. So, and you see them, because they are close to power or the corridors of power, they tend not to speak truth to power. They tend not to say the obvious things. They try to be political with their statement. They try to mince words with the state of things. And like you rightly said, until it gets to them, and which we have seen also over and over in Nigeria, that until it gets to until certain issues get to some big men, you don't tend to see institutions rise up and act the way they ordinarily are expected to act. And I am worried because that pattern, in the next couple of years, 5, 6 years, if nothing is done seriously, is going to get to them largely. And let's not forget, this is not the first time a threat will be made to the National Assembly. Boko Haram in its days in 2010, 2012 era had threatened such. And one of such bold acts of terror was the bombing of the UN House in Abuja, I think 2010, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not something that we can say is a fluke. As far as even the University of Ibadan had its own fair share of threats from Boko Haram. I remember then practically all parents said their kids to come home. So all of those are possible. So the measures they are putting in place, and I still feel personally that for the threats to have been, for it to have been communicated to them means they don't really have the intention to go ahead and do it now. But it's also a sign that it's possible for that to happen. And just to connect it, because it's part of the insecurity issue, the issue of kidnapping. I've not seen the rep, Senate, government officials actively communicate that the level of kidnapping in this country is becoming alarming. Before you could say, oh, maybe it's for ritualists and the likes, but now we are beginning to see that it's a proper industry that is being complicated. I think just 2 days ago, some set of persons were kidnapped along the road, is it in the east, Jigawa as well, going for NYC and the likes and all of those things. And average individual youth that are even trying to get by, they're asking their families to pay ransom of 20 million and the like. Sooner or later, this same set of guys will realize that, oh, this set of people cannot afford to pay, or, oh, if we can get this set of people to pay this, they will look elsewhere and say, oh, let's pick a rep member. We had the billions that is getting in the house, and it becomes a free-for-all. So I believe it's high time the security apparatus in this country do the right thing. Enough of speaking grammar to us every time. We see the budgets that is being allocated, with resources allocated for security. Why isn't there any clear difference? I've not seen our policemen with a better uniform, with a better arm, or remuneration welfare package, nothing at such. You still see them looking wretched, you still see them with old weaponries that are outdated. So and you also see that their morale is down. So you can't just give an hungry man, a weapon to go on the streets to go and secure war. There are many instances like that. So enough of the statements that they make, and they should go deep. This thing is not rocket science. Nigeria just make governance look like it's an ethic or a big deal. They know what is right to do, but they will not just do it.
All right, let's scratch the surface a little bit. The conversation has been around when threats are made, then there's supposed to be a beef up of security, which we have seen also at the National Assembly. But it also begs the question that, can we always beef up security in every other place and not just the National Assembly? Because it speaks to the body language of the lawmakers. Yes, they were tracking the story, and the way they took it was so serious. There was no joke. They were serious about beefing up security.
Because it concerns them.
Yeah. So can we take it a step further to ensure that the issue of insecurity in Nigeria can become a thing of the past?
It's the hypocrisy. I think that incident highlighted hypocrisy in the country. Reports have come out in the last couple of weeks of how a presumed genocide is ongoing. And I use that word presumed because I don't have all the facts, but at the same time I cannot discountenance the fact that a form of killing is ongoing in the north. So I may not want to color it on the religion end, but the fact is, whether they are Christians, whether they are Muslims, people are being killed in the north. I've not seen the House of Assembly, both houses, stand up with the seriousness they took this current ongoing threat to say, oh, something is going wrong in this place. Let us have something to do about this. We've not seen that. The president, the NSA, everyone has gone mute, quiet and the likes. So all of a sudden, because they seem to be affected, you can now see them being serious and the likes. And I will still maintain, whoever really wants to go after them will not come to the National Assembly. They know where they will pick them up. So because they are politicians, they are not hard to locate. They have constituencies that they feed and the like. So they are easy to get. Yeah, maybe their relatives are outside the country and the like, but they can easily be tracked. They will attend events, they would show up in places. So I'm not worried about the National Assembly being attacked.
All right.
But the question is, if you are going to beef up security for the National Assembly, what efforts have you made to beef up security for the average Nigerians? And that's where the last point I was making, I referenced welfare. I referenced the type of ammunitions and weaponry that is available for these men, so that you don't tell a man that is under-equipped to go face bands of properly equipped individual and highly motivated individual, whether their motivation is right or wrong, but are highly motivated. So, and again, we are in a place where we're having conversations of we can't allow citizens to have access to arms. We're in a place where we are still discussing whether state policing should be implemented. These are some of the measures that, if implemented, can make people feel comfortable and safe in their own space. So there's a lot of conversations that still needs to be taken, and not just only conversations. Laws should be made out of those conversations. Things should be entrenched in the Constitution that backs it. So we should not just pay lip service that everyone has the right to life and the likes, and to keep property. If somebody is coming to take that right away to life, to property, what are they going to do about it? So governments need to do more than just speaking. They need to put measures in place. Don't just say you have budgeted certain resources. Let's see it play out. A good example is your state. When Amotekun was formed and the governor went ahead to release, I think, the first 1,005 officers or so, you could tell in a way that, oh, at every ward level in your state, you could see the presence of, even if it's just two Amotekun at the lower level. All we just need is for that numbers to now be amplified. That's the foundation. But let's get more persons. Let's maybe in my ward, in my streets, in my area, I see the presence of a security person. They may not be there to do so much, but at least information sharing, intel gathering and the likes, they go a long way to ensure that before a crime is even committed, you can already know who could be the likely areas of threats to a society, and you nip it in the bud instead of allowing. Because I think Nigeria, to add, we have this habit of let's let it get so worse before we now start looking for a solution to it. Once there's a crack, start closing that crack up.
All right, let me catch you up on this quickly, very quickly now. You mentioned something that struck an interest, and I want to ask questions on that particularly to say, are you also a proponent of civilians bearing arms in Nigeria?
Yes. Interestingly, I am.
You believe that would work?
But I also understand that it comes with its grave dangers. I'm aware it comes with its grave dangers.
So is Nigeria ripe for that kind of laws?
So now, this is how I would balance it. I am for civilians bearing arms, but because of the level of indiscipline in the country, I am very gentle with that approach. So what is my alternative? It's something that I have always championed off air. So this is probably the first time I would be communicating it. I'm one that believes that every Nigerian from the age of 17 to 18 should undergo military training in this country for a year or two. As you are coming out of secondary school, go into the military academy for a year or two. Be drilled, be disciplined, undergo that process. When you're coming out, you're like a reserve for the Nigerian army. So I believe that sense of culture would instill a mindset of discipline in some ways, would instill a mindset of nationalism, patriotism, awareness, security awareness, self-defense skills and the like. So no idiot can just come up with a gun and say it's coming to harass your household or your community. He's already aware that there's a tendency that before he makes that move, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 persons that also know how to handle this that can come. And because of that military training of a sort, you're already in the system, and you also know that you are accountable to the leadership of the country. So even if you have the arms, you can't just wake up one day and say you're using it anyhow. You still are accountable to the system that lets you know, okay, yes, you might have this with you, how you use it. So either there's a routine way of reaching out to people in those sector to communicate, to be accountable for, to know, okay, you're in good shape, you're in this. So I believe if that system is in place, or if such system is in place, before I would
be bold to
say,
okay,
let's run that approach.
All right, so let's take it very quickly now. U.S. revokes Soyinka's visa. That's the big topic, right? But I want you to speak on this issue. What do you make of it? There are different angles to see it, how that, some have said there are reasons for this. Others have said someone of this caliber should not be treated this way. So there's been a lot of conversation, but where do you stand?
There's a new sheriff in town in the U.S. I think people are just probably grappling with the reality. And I am not a conspiracy theorist, because people that hold this view I want to communicate largely considered that. But I've taken time to just go back over the last few months and just study how the American system currently is being operated. And I've come to understand that there is a difference with the way America is currently being run. The elements in power that enabled Sowore and the likes no longer exists at the moment in America. So that structure, that institution currently in place can do without a Sowore.
Sorry, what do you mean with the elements that support Sowore?
So now, Sowore is largely funded by the liberalists, the liberal thought
in the United States government. Are you sure about this?
So if you go check Sahara Reporters, for instance, and check the list of those that have funded them in the last, from their inception, basically, it tells the story. Just check their political view, their political thoughts, and place it with the two thriving political thoughts in America today. You'll see that the funding came largely from the same set of people that funds CNN and the likes for propaganda work and misinformation are largely the ones funding him. So that's why I always don't take him serious, since I did my research and identified it and saw how he has not been consistent with his statements and his actions across board. Those are the times I began to question, okay, the integrity of him as a person. But rather than people just telling me, I just had to go do my own research. And as soon as and he hasn't denied it to date when he has been faced with such accusation. He has been practically quiet, silent about it. So, but whether he says the truth or not, the facts that are available, either on Wikipedia or on Sahara Reporters, when you do your research on their funding, because he wasn't funded by himself. He had partners, he had organizations saying, oh, we are supporting this, you're a journalist, this. So those are the ideas, those are the platforms or the basis for which he got those funds. But he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So if someone is coming and is pouring in over $500,000 in my corporation and is telling me he's supporting me because I either share the same view and values with him, or the person wants me to help him get something done. So when you look at that foundation that I've built, in America today, you see that under Trump, the government is actively destroying every form of grants that is being amplified by the Democrats. So basically, it's a Republican Democrat issue, a liberal conservative fight ongoing. So I feel he's just caught in that mix, and with the ongoing issues in the country, with him and the government and all, there's a lot, and I'm sure there's probably even a whole lot more than what I've even just communicated. But I can just wrap my thoughts currently around this particular view. But I still know. And, okay, no, let me put it this way now. If we're being also fair and neutral, would say it raises a lot of questions, because is US visa and the likes helps to at least show the Nigerian government that, oh, this person is someone that you should not just deal with or interact with roughly. So there's still that fear of, oh, the United States is a person of interest with the United States and the like, so let's tread carefully and the like. But doing all of this away makes it look like, see, you have nowhere to run. You're entirely in our hands. And that could be also very wrong, especially if we are dealing with a country that there's a large effort to clamp down on dissenting voices. So whether I still believe he's right with his approach, or whether if it's truly dissenting voices is out of the question, because it's a tool and it's a curriculum that can easily be applied to even the best minds and people that are truly of threat. So it's working on Sowore could mean that template, that book can be applied across board. So that's why I am worried. I always feel like in Africa today, the threat or the feeling of, oh, the US is interested in this issue, still tends to keep the government careful with how it's related, which is actually wrong. The government should not be treating its citizens on the premise of its fear of how a foreign country would perceive it, and they should fulfill the constitution that already guides them, that treats everyone well and the like. So for Sowore, it's still interesting this for me.
For Wole Soyinka?
No.
Let's speak to the issue of Wole Soyinka. That's what I'm quite particular about. Wole Soyinka called it a witch hunt. Does Donald Trump have the time of Wole Soyinka?
Donald Trump doesn't even know who...
He probably would know, but I would disagree on that.
He probably won't.
He's a Nobel laureate.
He won't.
He's a global figure for crying out loud.
He won't.
He knows. He might not have been interested.
So this
he
is
knows
the reason why I say so. Soyinka is not... I like it. Soyinka is not that important currently.
How do you mean?
His Bedu has gone down already.
No, it's still like one of my friends said, he's still taking courses at different universities, still doing all of this. He's still adding to education or to...
So this is the reason why I say so.
Of education.
This is the reason why I say so. If you look at Trump's routine in the last, say, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, there's no time for him to remember if there's a Soyinka somewhere. So, but his government, we can say we can take responsibility that the government is on him, maybe not. Because obviously there are persons in those offices. So what I see happening could be that there are certain criteria that had been indicated for certain persons to lose their visas and the likes, that Soyinka probably falls under. So not necessarily because they came for him, because if you look at it, I'm sure that list has a lot of individuals on it, of which Soyinka is just one of such persons. All right, I think we don't have to stretch it. So, but I still just feel like it's so easy. So, like I said, it's so easy for us to point fingers. It's so easy for him to say, oh, it's a witch hunt, it's a this. But I'm trying to make sense of it. He hasn't been vocal that much. Even in Nigeria, he has been a bit retired. You don't even get to invite him because they tell you that they want Baba to rest and all. So it's not been here, like there, out there.
Well, maybe that's why some people are also calling that he should be more respected than the way he's been treated. I mean, at that age, what do you post?
He himself has not clouded himself in glory because he has not been consistent with his statements in the recent years.
A statement and glory are two different things. No. Let's not
so why is the word he has not clouded himself in glory? I mean, there's a pedestal Nigerians had placed him over the years based on his contribution to democracy, the fight for the common man and the likes. Then in the last couple of, say, 3-4 years, his statements just betray the person people had grown to know and respect. So that's why I said he hasn't clouded himself in glory that much in recent years. So he should have just maintained that personnel he had, instead of now saying statement that even contradicts what he has even written in books that we read today and the positions he has taken in the time past. So I think largely that's why there's this disparity of thoughts on whether it is the right thing or is the wrong thing. A Soyinka of, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago that this happened to, it would be like a whole nation rallying behind him to say, this is wrong.
All right. We might not be able to stretch any further. Thank you very much for joining us. Temitope Ishola this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, the big story comes up next with Yemi Adelakun. Stay with us and don't go away after this break.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Casts. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Changing the clock doesn't guarantee justice. Only stronger institutions do. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako, and this is Big Story on Daybreak Live. Today, we confront a bold and deeply consequential question: changing the election calendar, reform, necessity, or distraction. The National Assembly now wants to shift presidential and governorship elections from the usual February-March to November 2026, under a proposed requirement that all legal disputes be settled before inauguration. The proposed comparison tribunal timelines: 90 days at first instance, 60 days at appellate, 60 days at the Supreme Court, or within 185 days before May 29. Supporters say this is the answer to post-swearing litigation mayhem, but critics warn push election dates closer and governance gets hollowed out. Campaign swallows state action. The ADC warns it could turn Nigeria into perpetual election season, shortening effective governance. Is this a real reform to strengthen democracy or a power play dressed in technocratic language? My guest this morning is Ignatius Aboselime Ofino, a researcher and public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Oluyemi.
Yeah.
Adelakun.
Yeah, correct.
There is something I like to call you. I love calling you Yimi.
Oh, wow.
So there is one thing I will say this morning.
Okay.
That my best wish for you is this: to be one of the greatest presenter in the world. Amen. With the highest endorsement deal.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's go back in history a little bit. Since 1959, down to 2023, there's never been a time when election has been moved backward. We've only seen cases where elections have been moved forward, maybe due to insecurity or finance and the likes. But this time, the Senate is proposing that, okay, can we have this election in November 2026 rather than the normal February-March 2027 that is expected, to happen. So some persons are saying, okay, this will help us to, put an end to all the court cases, the litigations, the petitions before the swearing in, which is May 27. But some others are saying, whether we move the election backward or not, it might not still solve all this case in the court, because in 2007, when we had the issue of Peter Obi and INEC, before it was later settled, there was even an issue with the court, even Amechi in 2007. So I want to ask you this morning, Ignatius, are you a supporter of this, this thing that INEC is talking about, that elections should be moved to November rather than the normal February-March?
Yimi, thank you for having me this morning.
You're welcome.
History has a way of repeating itself.
Okay.
First, as a tragedy, and secondly, as a farce. But when you are talking about election in Nigeria, it usually ends in tragic farce. Now you are talking about a laudable idea. There ought not to be what we call court litigation after any election that is being held. But we actually have a credible election in Nigeria. That has been the bone of concern. So we have seen a lot of court litigation. And this court litigation has become a source of distraction in public governance. It is not possible for anyone or an individual to govern a group of men except those group of men decide to surrender their willpower to that man to govern them in principle and in practice. And when you are talking about election, election is a means to an end. It's a process whereby the people decide to elect those who is going to govern them. Because there is what you must know about man. Man wants to govern and be governed. It's one of the natural instincts in us as human beings. We want to govern and we also want to be governed. And now we are talking about the electoral process. I remember when you go back from the trajectory of the narrative, President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, GCFR of blessed memory, attended an international conference and he boldly admitted that the election that brought him into power was flawed. It was a sense of courage. So now he now decided that there must be what we call electoral reform. That was what led to the emergence of Justice Uwe's Electoral Reform Commission. So in that process, what did they identify? The first thing they identified was this. There was what we call electoral fraud. Okay. Ballot snatching, ballot stuffing, multiple thumb printing. It was there. A lot of things was happening there. There was also what we call electoral violence in the process. Then I said, what can we actually do in order to enhance the electoral process in Nigeria? So they now decided to say, let us go by the way of technology. That was what led to the issue of card reader. When they introduced card reader, they now discovered that card reader was not even efficient. That was what led to the introduction of what we call BVAS. Bimodal Voters Accreditation System. Then we had what we call IREF. And that IREF simply means what? INEC Result Viewing Portal. So they introduced technology. At the end of the day, what still happened? The election was still not being adjudged to be credible. If election is free, fair, and credible, the loser will accept defeat in good faith without even challenging the result.
But there was a time that the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari after the election.
Because he knew that that election was somehow free and fair. And Jonathan was saying, my ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. That was what he said. He was a man of peace, a lover of peace. That was why he was able to win that peace prize. He won it. So let us be honest to ourselves. Do we have credible election in this country? Because there was no credible election. That is why you see people going to court to seek for redress. So it has always been altering the electoral cycle in Nigeria. Now we are having what we call off-cycle election. Up to 6 or 7 states in Nigeria today, they don't even conduct election at the same time with others. Let me give you an example. Imo, Anambra, Ekiti, Ondo, Edo. It's there. Off-cycle election. Election is supposed to be uniform when we are talking about general election in this country. But because there was a lot of electoral malpractices.
Violence too.
Violence was there too. Ballot snatching, ballot stuffing, it was there. So that was what led to this issue of court litigation. That was what the cause. That was the cause. Now we're having what we call vote buying. Do you know that there's one thing this man said? Professor Joash Onjo Amupiton,
the new INEC chair.
Yes, he said he's going to ensure that result is being determined at the poll, not in court. That's a laudable idea. It's a laudable aspiration. But good intention is not enough. There must be implementation. So the politicians too in Nigeria, there's one thing I've discovered about our politicians in Nigeria. All of them have that natural tendency to rig election because they are desperate for power.
Okay. Ovino, are you seeing sense in this new amendment? Because the Senate is saying we want to amend the 2022 Act. And then under that, we have something that is called, okay, any presiding officer that fails to announce result electronically and physically will have to do jail or pay an amount. What do you make of that? At the end of the day, we can have election in November rather than March or February. Can it solve all of this?
Whether
problems?
the election is being conducted in November, February or March, if the election is not credible, there is bound to be court litigation. There is one thing that is so unique about the American democracy. You know, they practice what we call electoral college. There is the popular vote. We have general election. Then after there is what we call college, the electoral college, where people will decide, those who control the electoral system in America. You can win at the popular vote and lose at the electoral college. It is the electoral college that determines who emerge as what? As the American president. So now when we are talking about our own case, in our own case, is different from the American. Now there is one thing you must also know about the American too. There is what we call in their electoral year, there is what we call Super Tuesday. Every first Tuesday in November, during the electoral year, that is when election is being held in America. And there is what we call diaspora voting too in America. Diaspora voting. Americans that are living outside the shores of America will also vote. But in Nigeria, there is nothing like diaspora voting. So there has been agitation for diaspora voting. But here now, it's a laudable idea that electoral issues or disputes should be settled before inauguration. Post-election or post-inauguration litigation is a source of distraction. It affects public governance. That is true. The government will be distracted. The incumbent president will also be distracted. We have seen cases in Nigeria today that those who are adjudged to win the election, at the end of the day, in court, the mandate was taken away from them and given to the rightful person who won the election. So there is always justice in court. Sometimes elections are being rigged in this country. Let me give you the electoral rigging in this country in mathematics.
Okay.
You know, mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2. But in the case of Nigeria, when it comes to issue of political rigging, 1 + 1 = 11. 11 + 11 = 111. 111 + 111 = 1,111. 1,111 plus 1,111 equals to 11,111. 11,111 plus 11,111 equals to 111,111. 111,111 plus 111,111 equals to what? 1,111,111. That is the type of rigging in Nigeria. When we are talking about rigging, rigging has been the problem. Do you know that when you are going for court litigation, you are going to spend a lot of money? You are going there to spend a lot of money. The defendant will spend money. The prosecutor will also spend money. But what about the issue of burden of proof? The burden of proof have always been what? The ballot paper.
It has been shifted to INEC now.
Yeah, the burden of proof. So INEC now need what we call forensic experts. So the issue there is that election results should be determined at the poll, not in court. So I'm in support with that laudable idea that Professor Ojo Amukpiton is trying to assure the public.
Okay.
Yes, that this time around is going, but there's a litmus test for him in November. Election is going to be held in Anambra. That will be a test run for him.
Okay, apart from the Anambra election, do you think INEC as a whole is ready should this election be conducted November next year? Looking at the fact that he's new to the office, and of course he has to do a lot of things, talk about finance, talk about getting to know all of the things that he needs to do. Do you think INEC as a body is ready for general elections come next year?
Change is inevitable.
Okay.
Change is the only thing that is constant.
Okay.
So if that will make us to have a credible election, so be it. America will conduct election in November. The next January, there will be inauguration. So now, when we are talking about post-inauguration litigation, it has been a source of distraction in this country. So we want to put an end to it. So when we are talking that before inauguration, all court cases might will have been resolved, I think it's a laudable idea.
How sure are we that all court cases will be resolved before May 27, 2027?
No, it's the judiciary.
How independent is the judiciary? Let's start from there.
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
So sometimes I ask myself that the Nigerian judicial system, is it a model in Africa, let alone before the rest of the world? So the justice system in Nigeria must be adjudged to be just. We need incorruptible judges, not political judges, not corrupt judges. Some of our judges in Nigeria today, they are biased. Judges are supposed to be neutral. They are supposed to be voters, not partisan judges. We have partisan judges in Nigeria. So there is a timeline. Let me give an example. If we want to organize any program, the resources to sponsor that program must be certain. The date of the program must be certain. If we are inviting a guest, there must be public assurance that the guest will come. Everything you are going to do must be certain. That is what the American has done. But in Nigeria today, do you know that election has been postponed a week? There was one time in Nigeria, in this country, presidential election was supposed to be held in a particular Saturday. The voters were already at the polling unit. They were already there, waiting. The next thing we had, that the election has been postponed till the next Saturday. It has happened in this country twice. Twice!
And we've seen some
government
elections.
It's as a result of conspiracy on the part of the ruling government. Because they always have that instinct to rig election in this country. So when we are talking about popularity and acceptability, the popular will of the people has been always subverted. There have been what we call subjugation. So when we are, the other time I made mention that sovereignty belongs to the people. The government is just a custodian of the people's sovereignty so that the society does not become lawless. That is why we have a government. And the only way to have a government is through what? General election. So it's a process. But look at what is happening in Nigeria today. All political parties have that tendency to be elected into power desperately. So that is the problem we're having in Nigeria. We can say, let us give it a trial in November 2026 and let's see what is going to happen.
Are you not looking at the political risk that might come up? Because, I just spoke about, INEC now. What about the electorate themselves? Because we talk about this definition, democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If that definition still stands in Nigeria, how ready are the electorate to say we want to vote? For our preferred candidate?
The voter apathy is there. Whose fault? It's not even the fault of the government.
So whose fault?
It's not even the fault of the politician. It's the fault of the people.
In what sense?
If politicians and their friends are voting, election will continue to be rigged. And the masses will continue to complain. So it's the fault of the masses.
But the masses are not so happy with what is going on in the country.
No! If you are not happy with government economic policy, you vote them out of power. And the only way to vote them out of power is through election. We don't need a military government anymore in this country. I am against military rule in this country. And military rule, we don't want it again in this country. And when we are talking about bad governance in any civilian regime, the only way to vote them out is through what? election.
Okay, Ofino, according to G.A. Almond and S. Vaba, he said political culture is the pattern of beliefs, ideas, and orientation of a political system towards politics. It talks about how the people see their politicians and the political parties. If you look at Nigeria, for instance, now, a lot of persons have lost interest in anything that has to do with politics. How do we return that interest? Because it is that time that we can begin to talk about people coming out to vote.
Those who have lost interest,
yes.
If the oppressors keep oppressing them, they have no excuse to give. Because during the election, they have given you opportunity to make the right choice. How will I continue to vote for someone who is oppressing my life? Someone who has decided to mortgage my life and destiny. I must be a rational thinker. As a rational thinker, you vote your oppressor out of power. So it's the fault of the masses, not the fault of the government, not the fault of the political class. It has been the fault of the masses who refuse to liberate themselves from the siege of oppression.
But this is not the first time. There was a time that Nigerians were very eager to vote, but then maybe they were disappointed about INEC or about the security operators, vote buying, ballot snatching, and the like. So should we not even talk about reforms in the INEC security operators before blaming the electorate?
Let me give you an example. The government, or let me use the word, the oppressors, know that if they rig the election, the people will not revolt. INEC also know if they manipulate the election, the people will not revolt. That has been the problem in this country. If INEC know that if the people's will is being subverted, the people will revolt. INEC dare not manipulate the election. If the ruling government knows that if the election is being rigged and manipulated, the people will revolt. The ruling government dare not rig the election. So the problem has always been the people, not even the government. The people should be blamed more, who refuse to cast their vote. Probably they are frustrated.
What about the 1993 election of that was considered free and fair, not just in Nigeria but outside of Nigeria? People came out en masse to vote. They voted across ethnic lines. They didn't care whether you're a Muslim or a Christian. They voted. But then what happened to the election?
Let me give you an example. The people's mandate was subverted. And the people reacted. But there is one thing that we see on this platform when you are talking about June 12. Chief MKO Abiola of blessed memory and General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, they were two jolly good friends. So the summary of June 12 is this: friendship, betrayal of trust, and revenge. That's something that we don't see on this platform. I repeat again, the summary of June 12 is the story that surrounds what? Friendship, betrayal of trust, and revenge. So when we are talking about popular revolt, it's a way of expressing your dissatisfaction if your right is being subjugated. You are fighting for justice. But look at what is happening in Nigeria today. The people are so gullible. The people are fearful. They are complacent. So that has been the problem. Do you know that the politicians themselves, they represent the microcosm of the society? The people are more in number. INEC registered 91 million voters in 2023. At the end of the day, the total vote cast was what? 24 million. What happened to the rest 67 million?
Political apathy.
Political. Do they have any excuse to give? Now, the incumbent president now introduced a harsh economic policy affecting every one of us. So those 67 million people have nothing to complain about. They shouldn't complain. Because assuming they have voted in 2023, probably they would have made the difference. So that is why I keep saying that the masses are more to blame than the politicians. There's what we call intellectual revolution. And the only way to go by it is through what? Voting.
Speaking of intellectual or maybe intellect now, I think a majority of those who voted in the 2023 presidential elections were elderly people. What happened to the youth? And this youth that we are talking about, they are learned, they read books, they go to the library, they write research. But what happened to them? Because they know what is happening. So how can we work on that? Because it's not just about blaming the people now. What are the people seeing that is not, giving them that courage to say, I want to come out to vote?
Voting is one of your civic responsibility as a citizen. So any citizen that failed to cast his or her vote has already violated the law of the country.
All right, Afino, let's talk about this now. The ADC, shortly after the Senate, dropped this proposition to say, let's have election in November. The ADC and some other opposition parties are saying, if this should happen, if elections are conducted in November 2026, it might affect governance. What do I mean by that? They are saying some governors who are supposed to cater to some certain things might not be so bothered, might be so focused on election. For instance, now we have some governors that are trying to contest for re-election. Some will be out of office after 2027, but some governors, they want to contest again. Even the incumbent president is going to contest again. We have governors also across the state, across the nations. What will happen to governance? Because a lot of them will be so focused about, I want to get back into the office, rather than work on certain things that they promised the people.
The observation that ADC made, to me, those are flimsy excuses.
Really?
Which excuses?
Okay.
We are talking about credible election. Let me give an example. There is institutional failure in Nigeria.
Okay.
There is difference between public governance and politics. In politics, anything can occur in politics.
Okay.
Propaganda is part of politics. The conspiracy theory is part of politics. But when you are talking about public governance, you are talking about service delivery to the people. Look at what Americans have done. One, there is the defense policy that has been institutionalized. The healthcare policy has been institutionalized. Transportation policy institutionalized. Educational policy institutionalized. So irrespective of any political party, even the foreign policy has been institutionalized. Irrespective of any political party that wins election, you have to follow the trend. Because there is also what we call institutional system already in place. It's already in place. So what we are having in this country is what we call institutional failure. What we are using for campaign, you cannot use it to campaign in advanced democracy. That I'm going to provide good road for you. No! It's the right of the people to have what we call good road network. It's the right of the people to have what we call healthcare, quality healthcare delivery system. It's the right of the people to have what we call quality educational services. It's the right of the people to have what we call good transportation scheme.
Okay. So
you don't use it to campaign. So what we have in this country is what I call third world democracy. And the people, they are not willing to change. They are not willing. Will you be using infrastructural development for campaign in America? No. What the Americans want is this. How do we ensure that America remain the most powerful country in the world? 1. 2, American foreign policy must never be compromised. 3, to ensure that the American dollar remains the only currency that is being used in international trade.
So don't you think Americans will not be bothered about infrastructure, light, security? Because all of those things are
institutionalized.
But we don't have them in Nigeria.
That is what the agency is supposed to say. That we are going to ensure that everything that we need in this country that happen to be the basic needs become institutionalized, irrespective of any political party that wins the election. So if we are saying it is November, let it be November and nobody changes it. If we say that there must never be any form of court litigation after inauguration of a government, so be it.
So what if the court cases, we are unable to settle all of those court cases before May?
There is a timeline.
What happens?
There is a timeline.
Okay, 185 days.
Yeah, before inauguration.
Okay.
So anything beyond that will never be admitted in law.
Do you know, you have seen cases whereby in this same country, court cases dragged for almost 2 years.
Then there was nothing like timeline.
Okay.
Here there is going to be a timeline. So time frame is going to be there. So when the time frame is there, it's just like when Atiku decided to bring his case concerning Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Chicago academic saga that happened.
Okay.
He came with evidence. But that evidence was not admissible any longer. Do you know why?
Okay.
Because of it lapsed. It lapsed. So there is a time frame. So that time frame says that court litigation must end within 185 days before inauguration.
This is Nigeria. We've seen cases whereby laws like that were put in place, but then it didn't work at the end of the day.
Why? It's the fault of the government.
Not the judiciary this time. The government.
It's the fault of the government.
Okay.
The government must enforce the law. The judiciary is to interpret the law. That this is what the law says.
Okay. Ofino, part of the proposal, this one says the proposed amendment also introduced early voting, allowing certain categories of Nigerians such as security personnel, INEC officials, accredited journalists, observers, and ad hoc staff to vote up to 14 days before the election day. What do you make of that?
I do not agree with that.
Why?
I do not agree with that.
Why?
I do not agree with that.
Okay.
You know, when we are talking about security forces, which of the security forces? When you are talking about security forces, you talk about the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Police Force,
okay.
You talk about the Nigerian Air Force, you talk about the Nigerian Navy too, and like a paramilitary organization. They are supposed to be neutral. You be neutral.
They don't need to vote. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they don't need to vote. You bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and you must be absolutely loyal to any government in place. So that is why I disagree. You must not allow army to vote. Their children can vote. Their wife can vote. Not military officers. No.
Okay.
They must be neutral.
Okay. Away from that, let's also talk about this. I have this one that says, on the 28th of August, the House of Representatives also proposed that all 5 major elections in 2027 be conducted by INEC in one single day in a sweeping reform outlined in the proposed Electoral Act 2025. But the ADC, has noted the proposal by the National Assembly to amend the Constitution in order to all the general elections. They are saying, okay, this is not a good one. What do you make of it? Conducting all the elections in one day. Do we have the capacity?
Let me tell you, off-cycle election and staggered election in this country came as a result of series of court litigation. Okay. Because you have to go to the court to seek for what? Justice. So there is a lot of what we call electoral alteration, and it's a problem. Some people are thinking, how can we find a way so that we now realign together? It's going to be difficult for us to have a uniform election in this country anymore for now. But the truth remains is that credible election, whether you conduct it the same time or not, let the election be adjudged to be credible, to the extent that the loser will accept defeat in good faith without even bothering to seek for court litigation anymore that have lost. That is, I'm advocating for what we call credible election. When there is no credible election, there is bound to be court litigation, and there is bound to be what we call off-cycle elections or staggered election. But the truth there is this: those in INEC, are they actually incorruptible? How many of them are patriotic? How many of them love this country? How many of them love democracy? Is INEC truly independent?
Even apart from INEC now, the last election, we saw some professors who were part of the rigging process. So professors...
That is the conspiracy of the elite against the Nigerian state. So that is why when ASU is complaining today, I see what I know is ASU APC. They should stop complaining. Do the needful. Do you know what it means for you to steal the people's mandate? Stealing the people's mandate. That is the height of injustice. The people voted for Party A, and at the end of the day, you now decide to rig the election result, and give it to Party B. That is the height of injustice.
So, Ofino, because of time, before we go, you are saying that elections should not be conducted in one single day, all the election, governorship and presidential, because there was a time in this country, many times, that some governorship elections ended in inconclusive, just one state.
INEC it was a conspiracy on the part of INEC and those in power. The power play. It was a power play. It's just like the game of chess. There is one thing you must also understand. If you want to have free and fair election in this country, that will reflect the popular will of the people. Local government elections should be conducted first. By INEC, not by SIEC, not by State Independent Electoral Commission. Local government elections should be conducted first, because local government is closer to the people. So when you now conduct local government election first, then you can now go ahead to conduct what we call governorship election, then again, Senate, election to the Senate, and House of Representatives. Then the last election should be what? The presidency.
Ofino, thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
In one minutes, what are some of the things that should be put in place to ensure? Because you seem to be a supporter of these elections should be conducted in November rather than February, March. What are some of the things that should be put in place to ensure?
What I'm saying is this, whether it is conducted in November or February or March, the election should be credible, free and fair. Let's think of the next general election, making maximum impact and shaping the future. Because politicians determine your political destiny as citizens. Then why should you not allow someone who have decided to oppress you, someone who has decided to mortgage your life and destiny to continue to remain in power? The only way to vote out such a person is through election. Voter apathy is not an excuse.
Thank you so much. Okay, you either fix the rules or live in chaos, but not both. We've seen that calendar proposal carries surface appeal. No more litigations dragging past handovers. But without deep parallel reform of the courts, INEC, political parties, and just like Ofino mentioned, the electorate themselves, without checks on incumbency, the change risk being symbolic, disruptive, and dangerous. If we accept shifting the electoral calendar, we must demand ironclad guarantees, constitutional safeguards, full judicial independence, and funding for speed, fairness, and transparency. So the public, stay alert. Don't let constitutional tinkering become executive engineering. A big thanks to Ignatius Bosalime Athena for being a part of this program. And to you at home, keep asking, keep pushing, and don't let reform become a cover for convenience. Until next time, I come your way on Big Story. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakwa. I'm saying good morning. Please stay with us. Trend Watch will come up soon.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
All right, I welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us. It's time to take the trend watch, and I'm not alone in the studio. I have with me Anuluapo Ido is smiling just now. I don't know why.
Yes, I have my reasons for smiling. Now, let's get into trend watch proper, right?
Okay.
Courts adjourns Hadisirika's trial till December 9 over 2.7 billion naira fraud allegations. That's exactly the story. Now, if we remember, okay, let's just get into a bit of the story. Justice SCLG of the Federal Capital Territory FCT High Court in Maitama has adjourned to December 9, 2025, the adoption of written address by the prosecution and defense counsel in the trial within trial of a former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika. Sirika is on trial alongside his daughter, Fatima Hadi Sirika, son-in-law Hamad Jalal Sule on 6-count charges bordering on abuse of office and money laundering to the tune of 2.7 billion naira. That's a big money.
That's massive.
That's exactly the case. Hadi Sirika was the former Minister of Aviation. I don't want to say bamboozled Nigeria. He brought Nigeria just a day to the time he was going to leave office. Okay. And then he said, Nigeria Air, we now have a national carrier. And everybody clapped. There was celebration everywhere. People putting hands together. Were you part
of those that?
Of course, it's a development. Okay. We've not had a national carrier in a while, right? Okay. So it seems like a good one. This is what we're expecting. Yes. And we saw the bird. The bird flew. We saw the bird in Nigeria. It flew, and then we saw it. It was branded Nigeria Air. We were very happy about it. Unfortunately, you know what happened? Just about 2 weeks, Nigeria Air flew back to Ethiopia, where it belonged. And unfortunately again, the Nigeria Air that was inscribed on the bird was nowhere to be found. Maybe it turned into Ethiopian Air. But whatever the case is, the case is still in court. And this is exactly why a lot of people are saying, why should we wait any further?
Why is the case dragging?
Why is it dragging? Somebody lied to the Nigerian state to say, we now have a national carrier. You people have done this, so before I leave office, I'm making a massive move, something that's never been done in a long time, and here we go. And then we saw the pictures. Maybe you see the pictures as we reel it out also for you. See the picture of the Nigeria Air. We see him talking to press and everything. Everybody was, gagging up for this to say, this is good, this is good. Unfortunately, something came up.
I know this is sad, though. And
Very
it's even
sad.
Part of what we discussed this morning on the big story, talking about court cases. So if we say, because the Senate just proposed that elections should be conducted November rather than March and February, because they want to be done with all court cases, petitions, and litigations, what have you. But then, are we sure that all those cases will end before the new tenure? It's sad. Look at this case now that has just been adjourned to December. How sure are we that after December
there won't be another adjournment? That's the case. Let's check what Nigerians are saying in the comment section. Yes, this morning. Of course, yeah, so many comments really now. Gemini Man says, these people are just evil. Of course, how will a person, let's just put it, just steal 2.7 billion naira and have the rest of mind?
Oh, don't say that last part.
No, we cannot take that
honestly. Another person, ISIP, saying court was the hope of a common man then, but not anymore.
See the question, see the clause, was. God of money says, quickly join APC, your sins will be forgiven. Now just more money, 700 billion naira from 2.7 billion naira, them go collect from you as transfer fee.
It's sad, honestly. And the final comment this morning, M. Kabir saying, seems like this man knows set to EFCC behind the scenes. Still talking about the EFCC. Before we know what to do in this country. I used to say this to that we all know what we are doing. To get it right in this country, EFCC, they know what to do. The courts, the judges, they know what to do. The security operatives, they know what, NDLEA, we all know what we are doing. And we know what to do to get it right in this country. So it's sad that at this point, look at Yabelo, we are still on that case. There was a time EFCC said he disappeared, they can't find him. There was a time he showed up in their office. We don't know what is going on that matter till now. Talk about Tompolo. There was a time the post said, nobody's above the law, we'll work on Tompolo. Talk about court cases that have dragged. Talk about Nnamdi Kanu's case. Recently, even Professor Wole Soyinka, I watched a video where he said that he thinks arresting him in Kenya was a mistake. What has been done on that matter? The court has been dragging that issue for so long. We know what to do. Let's not keep these cases in court. Is it that maybe the court do not have many cases to deal with, that we will not keep one case, we'll be on one single case for years? Why? When we know what to do, we have competent judges. Honestly, it's sad, really.
I think that's a good place to draw the curtains on this, because I was going to reel out that over 243,000 cases are currently pending in court, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, 2024. But
we
again,
have lawyers who don't have jobs.
So much to tell. Now again, my name is Anolo Akpoido. Thank you very much for joining us on this very edition of Daybreak Live. It's been an exciting conversation. Like I would also like to say this morning that if you do the crime, then you should do the time. Bye for now.
All right, thank you for being a part of the show. Do want to join us tomorrow. And before I go, please, when we know what to do, let's ensure to do the right thing at all times. My name is Oluwayemi Adelaku. I'm saying good morning.